Buenos días. Es para mí un gusto presentar al profesor Saša Horvat, con el que nos hemos empezado a relacionar gracias a un encuentro del profesor José Ramón Villar, que no ha podido venir por estar de viaje y que nos puso en contacto. Y entonces él se dedica al campo de la filosofía, pero con un interés especial en cuestiones interdisciplinares. De hecho, después de defender una tesis doctoral sobre Heidegger, pues se dedica a enseñar cuestiones de historia de la filosofía y de antropología filosófica en la Facultad de Teología de la Universidad de Zagreb. Pero además está interesado por esta cuestión de la interdisciplinaridad en unos seminarios que este año tocaría celebrar el cuarto en puentes científicos en la Universidad de Rijeka. Bueno, entonces, como fruto de sus trabajos de investigación, pues nos ha propuesto para tema de este seminario hablarnos de cuestiones neurocientíficas y filosóficas con respecto al futuro del ser humano. Entonces, pues estaremos encantados de oírle. Muchas gracias.
Srdačan pozdrav svima, iznimna mi je čast danas biti ovdje kod vas u Pamploni i stvarno uživam u vašem vremenu kao da je sunce skoro počelo. So it gives me great pleasure to be here in Pamplona. I'm really enjoying your beautiful city and almost the weather as if it was summer. I also would like to thank especially to Professor Antonio for the collaboration and exchange of all needed details for this happening. Also greetings to the all who are present here, who will be later on watching this, and to my boy who is my support here and come with me today. So this is also a special occasion for my faculty because this year we are celebrating 350th anniversary of our Faculty of Theology. So we are very happy and proud to be a part of University of Zagreb and also to have as many as possible international collaborations. So if you are interested in any of this kind, please be free to ask afterwards. So our topic for today is entitled The Future of Human Being, Neuroscientific and Philosophical Perspectives. So today we want to talk about the future of human being. Future is a time horizon which opens possibilities. That what is possible for our imagination is possible because of the present situation that is connected to the past events. So if we want to talk about the future of human beings, then we need to understand the present moment and how this present moment came to be. But the problem is that we don't have a clear understanding how do things stand with human being today. Also, we are only beginning to understand how we got into this situation. Therefore, talking about the future of human being is a very ungrateful thing to do. Still, human beings have the ability to imagine future. The power of imagination allows us to get closer to this temporal dimension and gain some sort of look into it. Yet, this looking is not also an understanding of future events. One of the areas of realization of this fictional insight into the future of human beings are certainly movies and series. Their scripts provide a self-confident picture of the future of human beings. The most fundamental mark of almost all of them is our relationship with technology. We can regularly enjoy or be terrified with human mastery of technology and integration of the same in human body and environment. And we can say that we are used to these futuristic scenarios. The element of surprise or new idea is slowly vanishing and focus is on visual stimulation. Old titles, old stories, but new 3D or 4D cinemas. It seems that our human imagination of our future has a clear notion of what are our main possibilities. One of regular future possibilities is strong and dominant development of neurosciences in our everyday life. From today's accomplishments, we are certain that tomorrow this field will dominate medicine, but also human self-understanding. What is our consciousness? How to upgrade it? How to control our will and our decision-making? But neurosciences will also affect security issues, for instance, airport checkpoints or police examinations, or the architecture of the buildings itself. The question of artificial intelligence and its adventures in the areas of human intelligence and emotions is also nothing new from the future. The regularity of all these screenplays speaks in favor of the fact that we have already accepted them as our unavoidable future. Yet some topics in our imagination are still avoiding strong framing in this technocratic and neuroscientific future. For instance, in a trailer of another new series on this subject, the initial question is raised by artificial intelligence called Martin, and I quote him, "Are you ready to find out what love really is?" So, in a series where future neuroscientific achievements are powerful but objective and reachable, a team of gifted scientists creates an application that can help people in recognizing their true love. Measuring brain activities, computer will lead you toward your meant-to-be partner and fulfilling love. We would expect ideas in field of medicine, health, upgraded cognitive abilities, warfare, security, but to have computers leading us toward our true love. How did we get and come to imagine that the neural activity and artificial intelligence would offer an answer to something so deep in the subjective dimensions of human experience? And what is more surprising, that we will trust it. From where does this idea spring from? We said that our future comes from the present moment that is engaged with the past. It is therefore necessary to understand how we today understand the relationship between neuroscience and human beings. So this lecture will therefore have the following structure. In the first part, we will briefly expose the traditional way of thinking about what it means to be human. Opposed to it, we will briefly introduce a newly established neuroscientific way of looking at being human. In the second part of today's lecture, we will look at the relationship between the essence of technology and the essence of being human with the help of Martin Heidegger's philosophy, and then apply this to neuroscientific achievements. And in the third part, concluding part, we will provide the synthesis of the first two parts and try to understand the shaping of our imagination about our future. So, the first part. For philosophical anthropology, the hard question has always been, can we establish a firm definition of what it means to be a human being? Can we define the essence of the human being? Or is this notion of the human being constantly changing through human history, so we cannot speak of one and the same essence? Without going too deep into this issue, we can certainly say that each new generation needs to ask fundamental questions about human beings, world, and God, because the answers from generations before cannot satisfy. We can also say that our generation is witnessing a change, a shift in the perspective of looking at man, the world, and God. We do not have the same man in front of our eyes as, for instance, St. John Paul II had when he wrote Fides et Ratio. So, who enabled us to make that change, or who has forced us to change the perspective? We believe the answer is natural sciences, or more specific, neuroscientific knowledge. Our today's task in this part of the lecture is to understand this change, its depth, and how far can it reach. So, how do we understand the human being? What makes us human? What experiences and abilities are unique to human species? If we want to move on this issue, then we must look for those capabilities and powers that are essential and inevitable for any human activity. So let's name few. Man is the being that has feelings and moods. We are always in this world in some mood or feeling. Now noon has passed, so we are in the mood for lunch and siesta. We use the same word siesta in Dalmatia for resting. So, of course, moods can be different. They accompany us throughout the day. But the important thing is that the world reveals to us through our emotions. If we get on the left foot, if we get up angry, you already know how our day will go. If we are depressed or if we feel in ourselves the impulse of joy of life, then we will experience everything differently, and that's what comes to meet us during the day. Man is also the creature that thinks. He judges, decides, values. The development of our thinking and the achievements that it enabled us, we are holding as something that distinguishes us from all other species. Also, the possibilities to reflect and self-reflect is one of our fundamental capabilities. Furthermore, man is the creature of language, so our thoughts are formed and expressed through language. And this is also one important mark that makes us what we are. So language allows us to communicate with other people, creating relationships and better understanding others, but also ourselves. Furthermore, thinking and language allows us to make free decisions in all kinds of different situations. It is the sense of the freedom of will that is unavoidable when talking about humans. Man is also a religious being. He is the creature whose vision is directed across the boundaries of everyday experience in search of greater meaning and peace. So we can say man is a pilgrim on the Lord's path. So I saw many pilgrims today in Pamplona. Furthermore, man is also a creative being, conceived through philosophy, art, religion, science, technology, and the symbolic world of spirit and culture. The totality of these achievements makes up his anthropological essence. So, if we ask about being human, then the powers or capabilities as consciousness, will, intellect, memory, selfhood, religion, and so on, become an unavoidable issue for our enterprise. Asking about himself, man is both a subject and the object. So, in the words of philosopher Gerd Hefner, quote, asking about himself by himself, the man moves away from himself in the distance of the object that he needs then to determine in knowledge and then to identify this new knowledge with himself. End of quote. In this act of self-reflection, man as an object becomes some kind of image, of picture, but in which we can still know what the painted thing is. This path or this way of approaching human beings is something that our human reflection has always followed within the fields of philosophy and theology, but also listening to what other sciences have to say. If we look for the essence of the human being, then somehow we need to connect into the wholeness all of man's spiritual and material accomplishments. But what if these fundamental abilities of human being can be seen from a completely different angle, giving us radically different material for reflection? We need to be clear that we are talking about perspectives which are opened for the first time in the history of the human spirit. So now we will briefly introduce this new perspective in the line with thinking about the essence of being human. When we communicate with other people, when we participate in social interactions, when we reflect our own internal states, then we try to read others' thoughts and intentions, then we make decisions concerning our society, or when we go through complex emotions like empathy, then we can measure particular activity in the part of the brain which is called the prefrontal cortex, in red color above. But when we decide on something in the moral sense, then we can observe particular activity in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. When we stop ourselves from doing something, for example, when we don't eat another piece of cake, or when we experience some emotion, or when we are making an ethical decision, or when we expect some reward for our doings, then we can measure particular activity in the brain area called anterior cingulate cortex, also in the red color when it was spinning. Furthermore, religious experience also have their neural signature, so prefrontal cortex and temporal cortex will be more activated, while the activation in the parietal cortex will likely occur. And ultimately, our self, our identity, has also a neural signature. In experiments that have been studying the brain's response to stimuli that are somehow related to selfhood of subjects, it was shown that certain circuits of the regions in the middle of the brain are then more activated. As these areas are medially in the brain, they are called cortical medial structures, in the future CMS. Inside the CMS, there are different degrees of neural activity, which suggests that different regions mediate different aspects of the self. In the picture above, we see activities in various areas depending on what the subject matter was subjected to. Emotions and self, face and self, memory and self, others and self, speech and self, space and self, and so on. Now, all these examples are part of a new event in our age that we can name the neurotechnological turn. In this turn, the human being and his powers and capabilities are understood with the help of pictures of neural structures. Understanding human being as a material being living in a material world, all his capabilities are reduced to brain processes and structures, and their relationships with body and environment. It is claimed that the functions and attributes once attributed to the soul or mind are better understood as functions of the brain. Although human being is a complex entity, science uses the same method of observation and interpretation as for other phenomena within the world, and that is reductionism. This method requires simplicity and clear definitions of physical events, reducing complex events to a minimum. Furthermore, following Bernard Lonergan, all the facts are placed and interpreted within a system. It contains elements of assumptions or guesswork because scientists carry out a systematization process in which, among the many offered concepts, they select certain concepts and temporarily set them as fundamental in one system. To quote Lonergan, at any time the system is accepted because it provides the simplest view of all known facts. End of quote. The simplest view is also used for human beings, meaning that in most interpretations of neuroscientific results, all human powers or capabilities are described, understood, and or interpreted with the help of images of neural firing. Therefore, if neurosciences can explain the activities and functions of a biological foundation without which there will be no essential characteristics of man as self-consciousness, will, intellect, and so on, what then remains for theology and philosophy to say about the human being? So, in the first part of this lecture, we asked about the essence of human being, and the answer came from pictures of neuroscientific measuring devices. Are these computer-treated and colored photographs just a pale image reflection of our biological foundation? And are they limited in a way that they can never reach the understanding of the final purpose of our abilities? Or, finally, for the first time in the human history, we are standing at the threshold of the true insight into the human nature. In a medical perspective, the significance of neuroscientific discoveries is enormous. In the philosophical perspectives, These new discoveries open a radically new perspective of understanding what it is to be human, what is the essence of the human being, but also what is the essence of technology. And now we came to the second part, and that is the essence of technology. Now, overwhelming presence of neuroscientific achievements in scientific, academic, and public space is enabled by advancing technology and new measuring machines. In a way, we can say that technology dictates the rhythm of progress, enabling new and more precise insight into the smallest particles of our body. In this way, it supports the creation of always new scientific image of man, but also providing an answer to the questions of the essence of the human being. But how is that technology enables insight into the essence of the human being? What is then the essence of technology? Questions about the essence of technology was also raised by German philosopher Martin Heidegger. With his help, we will try to gain insight into the present and expected future neuroscientific domination regarding fundamental issues concerning human being. So, from the very beginning of his philosophical path, Heidegger confronted all the stronger domination of science and technology. He was very well acquainted with their results, especially with the achievements of physicists. So first we ask, what is science for Heidegger? In book titled What is Called Thinking, we find perhaps his most famous sentence about science that claims, quote, "Science does not think," end of quote. While in our ears this unusual idea is still ringing, we need to point out that Heidegger was not against science as a human project and a way of understanding nature. Science always had some special work with human thinking, but Heidegger wanted to illuminate the gap between scientific way of thinking and human thinking. So, in what can we see this gap? In the way of thinking. So, what science engages and meets with the help of empirical research is just a certain way of presenting the subject which is already predetermined. It is a certain violent kind of knowledge which investigates and presents world under its conditions. This kind of thinking Heidegger called the representational thinking or vorstellenden Denken. And this kind of thinking enables forming objects as such. In this way, we are allowed to assume the attitude of a subject over against an object. The whole world can now be placed before the subject as a picture, thus built. For Heidegger, this is the beginning of the modern age dominated by science. For vorstellenden Denken, or representational thinking, all that may appear is an object who stands opposed to the subject and is dominated by the subject's powers. Opposed to such a view, Heidegger calls man to learn again how to think. The style of this new way of thinking will be reserved and timid, to allow that before it to open and show itself for what it is, in its essence and truth. It's a classical phenomenological approach to the objects. What is also important for us to grasp here is that science for Heidegger is not dangerous in itself. No, the danger arises in the uncritical acceptance of the role of science in understanding the world, the human being, and the God. So now, after science, we want to ask a second question. What is technology for Heidegger? First, we recall that the main issue for Heidegger was always the question of being. In this context, he criticizes the Western metaphysics for having forgotten the being. This forgetting has consequences for man. One of them is the domination of technology through which the will for power is developed. Heidegger says, quote, technology is not the same as the essence of technology, end of quote. Or in other words, the essence of technology is nothing technical. In neuroscientific terms, this means that measuring devices such as magnetic resonance or EEG do not deliver us the essence of technology. To ask about the essence of technology means to ask what technology is. Usual answers claim that technology is a tool and a product of man's inventions. These are instrumental and anthropological determinations of technology. These answers are correct, but they do not tell us what is the essence of technology. These answers tell us that technology is some tool, some mean for something with some purpose. For instance, a hammer is a tool produced by humans with a purpose to hit something, preferably a screw, not our fingers. So, now we ask, to what domain do these concepts as tool, means for something, and purpose for something, for this and that, belong to? In order to answer that, we need to recall Aristotle and the four causes. The material cause, that out of which the former cause, the form, the count of what it is to be. The efficient cause, the primary source of the change or rest. And the final cause, the end, that for the sake of which a thing is done. Now we can say that the tools and purposes of technology can be seen as causes that, quoting Heidegger, bring something into appearance. They let it come forth into presencing. They set it free to that place and so start it on its own way, namely into its complete arrival. End of quote. But what does it mean to cause something? To cause something means bringing something up to the notion of phenomenon, to the presence that was previously absent. To bring something out of concealment, literally out of concealment, into unconcealment. Turning back to Greek philosophy, Heidegger points out that this bringing into the presence is poiesis, or production, or bringing forth. For the Greeks, that can be realized in nature, when something grows up like a flower or a tree, but also when something is produced in handicrafts like shoemaking, clothes making, and so on, and in arts like poems, paintings, sculptures, and so on. So, production or bringing forth is accomplished when something hidden comes into presence. What enables this coming into presence? What is called revelation or discovery or coming forth. This event of coming forth and entering into the openness is named aletheia. Romans translated it with veritas, and today we call it truth, but in the form of correctness of the presentation. So, Greek poiesis brought us in the vicinity of the Greek word techne, which belongs to the producing itself. Techne denotes knowledge in the widest sense, to know how to do something, to know how to handle things. Techne is the knowledge that makes something clear, that reveals something, discovers something. But the essence of techne is not in the making or producing, in the use of resources and tools, in instruments. The essence of techne is in the disclosure or discovering that names things. So, what has the essence of technology with discovering? For Heidegger, everything. Because every production is based on discovery, in which four causes, remember Aristotle, are realized. So, quoting Heidegger, technology, therefore, is not merely a tool. Technology is some way of revealing. End of quote. In this way, the essence of technology belongs to the area of revealing. the essence of technology belongs to the unconcealment, to the aletheia. The essence of technology belongs to the domain of truth. So, technological revealing in our contemporary context has an aim to provoke nature to be discovered in a usable way. Technology is challenging forth the nature so it could put things in their place, in the enframing, another Heideggerian term, das Gestell. In this case, objects from nature could be used if there is a need for it. Heidegger's concept, das Gestell, tries to explain that the essence of technology is to provoke all of nature in the form of usability. The human being works out this challenging that enframes nature. But why do humans carry out the enframing of nature? Because humans have been challenged by the possibilities discovered by the technology itself. So now it's time to recall things. We have recently concluded that the essence of technology is a way of revealing that challenges forth the nature. But now we are also coming to the insight that the human beings are challenged too. If we are challenged by the technology, then we are also set in the all-encompassing enframing, das Gestell. Challenged and set in enframing, man explores nature as an object. Man is inspired and lured by his achievements and sees everything around him as his own work, as a reflection of himself. Enframed by the essence of technology, man becomes the employee of technology in a way that he either serves machines or designs and builds them. That is why Heidegger warns how man is placed in the essence of technology, in das Gestell, and all this through his own human essence. And this is where the true danger of technology lies. The danger is not only from the potentially lethal machines. No, the danger lies in the possibility that it could be denied to the human beings to enter into more original revealing and experience the truth appropriate to us being humans. Because the human being reveals everything around him and even himself in the moment of standing in the essence of technology, man never decides on his essence under his own conditions, but under the terms of technology. So the truth about himself escapes from man. Conclusion. We must now think of what we have said, but in the contemporary context of neuroscience. So, technology not only provokes nature and humans, challenging them forth and putting them into use or into reserve. No, technology also penetrates into the deepest structures of the human being. How to understand what is happening in relationship of the essence of human being and the essence of technology in contemporary neurotechnological turn? First of all, measuring instruments as instruments itself and tools do not reveal the essence of the technology. If we look at the essence of technology as a way of revealing, then we can see the endless brain structures of 80 billion neurons as the neural continent. This continent hides undetected potential for discovery and use. Technology provokes or brings forth this neural continent. For example, after certain stimuli by measuring oxygen consumption as in functional magnetic resonance, or by recording neural activity as with EEG. Neuroscientists and devices always in some way stimulate our neural continent for it to come forth and reveal itself before the eyes of the machine. To say it in Heidegger words, the essence of technology releases man to what he himself by himself can never even make. End of quote. The second thing is that neuroimages of these hidden lands in our skull do not speak the everyday language, and there is no discussion with them, but only interpretation. Yet, explanations and interpretations of neuroimages remain in the hands of neuroscientists, beyond the critical method of human reflection. Namely, how do you doubt something that has been proven using brain images that are produced with the help of most up-to-date technology devices? How do you enter into debate with such conclusions, such interpretations, if you are not a master of that field? So, when you establish this kind of the criteria of truth, the measuring device becomes the tool for objectivity. In this technological way of revealing the world, the essence of the human being is emerging from the image of neurons. These images that have for a long time been waiting in the darkness of the human skull are now coming into the unconcealment, into the truth, into aletheia. But they are coming forth only with the help of technology. So the essence of the human being is today revealed by the way of the essence of technology. Of course, you remember when depicting human deepest intimacies, St. Augustine wrote, "God is more inner than my innermost, God is higher than my uppermost." But today, human intimacies are no more filled with never-reaching depth and with divine presence. They are now filled with neural structures. So human architecture is no longer a reflection of God's image, but of image of neurons. The essence of human being, unconcealed by measuring devices, is reduced to the computer image. Perhaps this is the final step of the reign of the nihilism. But perhaps in this scientific triumph we have come to the moment in the human history when we are finally given an enough strong challenge, a challenge that brings into question everything that is human. This could provoke an impulse, a strive to regain our authentic human way of revealing the truth and the essence of being human. If we gain human authenticity, we will maybe also gain a free relationship with the essence of technology. Because now we are not in a free relationship with technology. We are still part of das Gestell and we understand ourselves as part of it. That is why our images of our future are developed only within it. Coming back to the introduction of today's talk, we now understand why our projections in movies and series all go into one direction. All of our morals, meanings and well-being is attuned by the essence of technology, by its way of revealing. Heidegger calls the words of the poet Hölderlin, quote, "But where there is a danger, it also grows salvation," end of quote. Therefore, the more we illuminate domination of the essence of technology that is not technical, the more we will perceive and ask about the salvation. In this way, maybe our imagination will begin to imagine different future where focus would not be on artificial intelligence that completely measure us and show us what true love really is. Maybe we will imagine future where we will be amazed by just being human, nothing more and nothing less. Thank you for your time.
Pues muchas gracias por la disertación. Entonces, aunque en estas fechas estamos con los exámenes un poco con pocos asistentes, pero yo creo que habrá despertado alguna inquietud y alguno de los presentes estará queriendo hacer alguna pregunta acerca de lo que he expuesto. No sé si alguien se anima.
Yeah, so thank you for your talk. So I was wondering, so somehow, so you say that technology provokes man, somehow changes his nature, his essence, because, well, it's making us to be understood as, well, in technological sense. Now, my question is that necessary? So my question is in itself, is it of the essence of technology to provoke human being and denaturalize human being, so changing human being into something different from himself? Or is it in the end a problem of human beings themselves, because we are using technology in our own way? My thesis would be that human beings have forgotten the ultimate ends. So somehow they are converting technology in an end in itself. So it's because of this oblivion that technology is provoking human beings. So we have this, this problem, but it is not from the essence of technology in itself. So that's my question, because I think it's more of the oblivion of human being, of ultimate ends.
Thank you for the question. Well, yes, we can agree on this issue that at the end we are the masters of our fate, if you can say so. We are the masters of how we will use technology, at least at this moment now. We have this possibility, but the problem is that we are forgetting that the essence of technology is the way of revealing the nature. So if we look at everything through this way of revealing, that is technological way of revealing, and understand ourselves through this type of revealing, then we understand ourselves differently. So everything around us is somehow designed to be efficient, to be producible, to be concrete, and in this way we are also shaping ourselves toward the technological success, but also understanding ourselves through technology. So it is not in the essence of technology to change human beings. It is in the way we use technology and the way we understand technology, and as you said and I mentioned, this oblivion that technology is a way of revealing the world. The technological way of revealing of the world is not the authentic human way of revealing himself and the relation to the world. Because if this happens, then we will lose the causa finalis. We will lose the reason, the most important reason to understand what it means to be human at all. So, do you translate or is it okay?
I think it's fine.
Yes. So the main issue is that in technological achievements we will see a reflection of ourselves, but this is not ourselves. Ourselves is something that needs to be grasped authentic. For 2000 years we'll be trying to grasp ourselves through theology and philosophy, through thinking, through self-reflection. Now we are trying to understand ourselves, and that's why I mentioned the screenplays that are talking about future events. We are trying to measure ourselves with technological achievements, with dimensions that technology can open to us. And it is very strange for me to see that all these future imaginations, all the imagination of the future events are all going into one direction of total symbiosis with technology and its achievements. So either we are somehow mastering it, or it will master us. So this is showing me that now that we are too deep in the essence of technology, and that we need a free relationship to the essence of technology.
So would you say that it is of the essence of technology being addictive, for instance?
No, it's even deeper. Addiction is something that can be, put away. But when you understand yourself, your essence from the essence of something else, then this is even, I think, more deeper than the addiction. It's not if I can take it and leave it, this technology. I cannot anymore leave technology. I cannot imagine my future without technology. It's so deep into my roots of being human already now. Addiction is something I can, I can struggle with, I can live it, but now I cannot even imagine my future without it, strongly dominating and shaping it, all areas of my knowledge, of my relationship with other people and so on. That is my concern, that is my concern, how to picture future differently, in what manner.
My question is, could we say that it's not just a technological problem, but a general problem every time that we try to understand ourselves through a mean of understanding? For instance, it's just technology, or it could be also philosophy, because we think that human being is what we see through philosophy. We can put it simple, because it's like those who think that I'm good enough because if I put these pictures in Facebook, everybody is saying I like it. Okay, so I think that I'm enough because everybody is saying, okay, you are cool. So I'm using a mean to understand myself. But that's the problem, not just with technology, but with every kind of knowledge, I would say. Okay.
Yes, thank you for the question. I agree with Heidegger. Technology is not problematic. Technology is not dangerous. It is dangerous in a way of arms, bombs, and so on. That is dangerous. But the deepest danger is this, what you say in your second part of your question, that I understand myself through this technological means. Technology in itself is a good thing. We always had some way of relation with nature through technology from our beginnings. We always had some kind of means of tools. But there is nothing wrong with technology. It is our human way of thinking that is now lured by the technological achievements, and we are no more self-reflecting through ourselves, but through our technological accomplishments. And we understand ourselves now differently. In a way, let's say, for instance, in neuroscience, that I like to deal with. It's completely different material for self-reflection, from philosophy. If you study philosophy, you have texts, you have thinkers for 2,000 and more years. You read them. You can pro et contra with them. You can try to negotiate with them. You can move forward from them. You can move on. But with these new ways of looking at human beings, what it means to be human, like this, for instance. This is from the work of George Nothoff. I'm now preparing also an article with him on the issue of self and neuroscience, and this is showing yourself. So if I told you this is yourself and you are communicating with me, and this is yourself and you are looking at your photo from your childhood, and this is yourself and you are speaking about yourself, how can I establish a dialogue with this? Everyday man. I'm not talking only about scientists, everyday man. If you tell everyday man, look, I don't have here, this is you, we have proven, this is active when you are speaking about yourself. What can he say, everyday man? How come to show him that he can think about himself in a different way or manner? I hope that this is.
I can answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. It's the same idea. I mean, it's like someone who is thinking that because he gets good grades, he's a good student. You are using something to measure who you are. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I couldn't arrive because Das Gestell has, in the bureaucracy, has has been a problem. But so I entered into this debate without having heard you from the very beginning. But it seems to me that it's clear that for us human beings, our technology is a way of understanding ourselves, because from the very beginning we make pottery, for example, and we understand that we are some kind of of pottery by God, etc., etc. No? This, and or you design clocks, and then you see that human beings are. So it's a way of understanding. You understand the brain. You are a mechanicist because you understand the brain as the mechanism you understand. But it's also true that little by little you discover nature, and nature inspires you other ways of understanding things and of understanding yourself. So technology has these two, is an image to understand you, some kind of analogy, or to understand you, what you, and to discover for you something that can be important, or hidden. But at the same time, nature is the inspiration for technology. So this is not the only way. But I think that the problem that Heidegger speaks about is connected with a historical situation where technology is not only a lot of means that we have to do things, but that technology has grown in a way, in a special way, that makes that technology is seems to put goals and ends to, and so we human beings are not who have the goals for technology, but our goal is to produce technology, to use technology, to improve the world that technology shapes. So, but my first question is, do you think this is really true, this diagnosis of Heidegger? And is it possible to make technology as it is now a set of means against, and not only a gestalt, something that is that is framing our life, and is, I don't know if this is clear.
So, I will try to answer to all three questions. So, in the first part, yes, it's true. As I already said, from the very beginning of the human race, we always had some tools to deal with, to let's say, communicate with nature, to animals, and so on. But we very clearly understood what it means, that what is a tool, what is a human, Also, our body biology and our body shapes and our body structures adapted to these tools, to the forks, to the knives, and so on, the classical. But from the early beginning, we understood ourselves in relation to the world and to the God, not to the technology in itself. Technology, as Greeks understood it, and that's why Heidegger is pointing back to them as techne, is to know how to do things. It's to know how to build things. Yeah? Huh? It's not. It doesn't give me the essence of who I am. Yeah? Now things are a little bit different. Now, completely different. Now maybe I can connect to the third question. Now we are in this gestalt. We are in this framing of being usable, of being productible. And the problem, again, the problem is not with technology, it's how we use it and how we understand it. And especially because technology has its limits in a way of understanding and in a way of interpreting what it gets. At the end, we are doing all the interpretations, but only based on the measuring results, which is a type of reductionism if you compare it to the historical way of establishing what it means to be a human being. The huge problem, for instance, for philosophers in philosophical anthropology was when sciences spring up, what is now the essence of being human? You have biology, you have medicine, you have this, you have that. What do we philosophers do now? Do we go by the scientists, or do we study tribes in Africa? So you had two slides in philosophical anthropology. One studied the social dimension, other studied the biological dimension, and then move up on the essence of being human. Concerning Heidegger's diagnosis, yes, it was in his time. Most of this work that I cited was 60s, 70s, when technology proved itself to be dangerous, extremely dangerous after the Second World War, and he saw the huge power and huge potential in this growing technological domination on the world. And so I think that his diagnosis was correct, that he saw what technology can do, and that what do strong philosophers do. They foresee what is coming to us from the future, and I believe that his diagnosis was correct, especially in the issue concerning that man recognizes and admires himself in his production, but that is not himself. Our products are not ourselves. They are not. They are. We do get inspired by nature always, and we will probably have many different ways of understanding what it means to be human in 20, 30 years already. What it means to be human, what is the essence of human being. But again, all these new adventures and new discoveries will be not immediate to our self-recognition. They will always be transferred to us by technological devices. And that's the difference. That's the huge difference between these 2,000 years where all the thinking about human being, all the establishment about the essence of what it means to be human from reflection and self-reflection, and now completely new picture given by the means of technology. And that is something that I'm trying to show.
Muy bien, pues si no hay más preguntas, pues podemos terminar este coloquio. Muchas gracias por toda la atención que ha provocado en los oyentes y las preguntas, y seguro que cuando la grabación esté dispuesta en la red será perfecto para todos y podremos recrearnos en los detalles que ahora quizá nos hayan podido pasar inadvertidos. Muchas gracias. ¿Perdón?
If I can invite you all to Rijeka, usually in October, in the end of October we have an interdisciplinary conference organized by several universities. The idea is that we gather people from different sciences, let's say from medicine, from psychology, from physics, from astrophysics, from arts, and we discuss usually a single topic. So our students in theology can learn from all different types of fields. So if any of you are interested, you are more than willing to join us in October. You can look it up at, it's called Rijeka Scientific Bridges, or you can contact me via email. I'll be more than happy to accommodate you in Rijeka. Also, we are developing a project. I'm now trying to develop a project entitled The Subjective Dimension in Religious Experience. So if you are interested in any way in phenomenology and subjective dimensions, of also neuroscientific investigations of subjective dimensions in religion experience, please feel free to contact me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.